9 seconds. That's all it takes for a woman to quietly decide whether you're the kind of man she respects or the kind she slowly loses interest in. And here's the truth most men never hear. She's not always testing you with words. Sometimes she's testing you with silence, sometimes with distance, sometimes with a tiny moment that looks meaningless, but reveals everything about your confidence. Most men fail these tests without even realizing a test happened. Not because they're bad men, but because nobody ever taught them what these moments really mean. The first psychological sign she's testing you is when she suddenly becomes slightly distant. Not cold, not rude, just a little harder to read. Her replies become shorter. Her attention shifts slightly. She might cancel a plan or respond later than usual. And in that moment, something powerful happens inside most men. Panic. They start overthinking. Did I say something wrong? Is she losing interest? Should I text again? Should I try harder? So they do what they think will fix the situation. They chase harder. They send longer messages. They try to prove themselves. But what they don't realize is this was never about testing their effort. It was testing their emotional stability. A woman subconsciously wants to know one thing early on. Does this man stay calm when things are uncertain, or does he lose control? Confidence isn't proven when everything is perfect. Confidence is proven when nothing changes your center. When a man becomes anxious the moment attention drops, he unknowingly sends a signal. His happiness depends on her reaction. His confidence depends on her approval. And that slowly removes the mystery and strength she was hoping to see. But when a man stays grounded, when he doesn't rush to fix something that isn't broken, when he continues living his life with calm energy, something surprising happens. Respect quietly grows. Because confidence is silent. It doesn't beg, it doesn't panic, it doesn't try to control outcomes, it simply stays steady. And here's the part most men never hear. Many women don't even realize they're doing this test consciously. It's instinct, it's psychology, it's the mind asking a simple question. Is this a man who can handle pressure or a man who collapses under it? The moment you stop reacting emotionally to small shifts in attention, you stop playing the game most men lose, and you start becoming the man who quietly passes tests without even trying. But that's only the beginning, because the second sign she's testing you is far more subtle. And it's the one that exposes a man's true confidence faster than anything else. A woman can learn more about a man's confidence in 30 seconds of disagreement than in 30 days of smooth conversations. And that leads to the second psychological sign she's testing you. She challenges you, not aggressively, not disrespectfully, but just enough to see what kind of man you are. Maybe she teases your opinion. Maybe she questions a decision. Maybe she playfully disagrees with something you said. On the surface, it looks like a simple conversation, but beneath it, something deeper is happening. She's watching your reaction very carefully. Most men fail this moment instantly. Some become defensive. Their voice changes. Their energy tightens. They start explaining themselves too much, trying to prove they're right, trying to win the argument. Others go in the opposite direction. They immediately back down. They change their opinion just to keep the peace. They laugh it off and surrender their position. Both reactions send the same message. Weakness, because confidence isn't about dominating conversations, and it's not about surrendering your thoughts either. Confidence is the ability to stand calmly inside your own perspective, without aggression, without apology, without needing validation. When a man can smile, hold his opinion, and stay relaxed even when challenged, something powerful happens in her mind. She feels safe, not because he's controlling, but because he's stable. Emotionally stable men are rare, and rare things are attractive. The truth most men never hear is that attraction is deeply connected to emotional strength. Not muscles, not money, not clever lines. Emotional strength. A man who can stay calm in disagreement signals something important. He doesn't crumble under pressure. He doesn't seek approval. And he doesn't need to overpower anyone to feel secure. He simply knows who he is, and that quiet certainty is magnetic. But when a man gets defensive or desperate to prove himself, he unintentionally reveals something else. His identity depends on winning approval, and approval-driven men slowly lose attraction Because approval is predictable, confidence is intriguing, the difference is subtle, but powerful. One reaction says, "Please accept me." The other says, "This is who I am." And strangely enough, the second response creates far more connection, because real attraction grows when two people feel free to be themselves, not when one person bends constantly to avoid conflict. A small challenge, a playful disagreement, a moment of tension, these are not relationship problems. They are windows. Windows that reveal the strength of a man's inner world. And women notice these windows far more than men realize. But the third psychological sign she's testing you is even more dangerous, because it tricks men into revealing their insecurity without a single argument. Sometimes the most powerful test a woman gives you doesn't look like a test at all. It looks like another man. She might casually mention a coworker, a friend, someone who asked her out, someone who complimented her. She might say it lightly, almost like a passing comment. But the moment those words leave her mouth, something shifts in the room. And that's the third psychological sign she's testing you. She observes how you react when another man enters the conversation. Most men fail this test instantly. Their face tightens, their tone changes, jealousy slips into their voice. They ask too many questions. Who is he? Do you like him? Why did he say that? Suddenly, the calm man she was talking to moments ago becomes someone else, someone insecure, someone threatened, someone who feels like he might lose. But the truth is, attraction doesn't disappear because other men exist. Attraction disappears when insecurity appears. Jealousy reveals fear, and fear quietly erodes respect. Confidence, on the other hand, behaves very differently. A confident man doesn't panic when another man is mentioned. He doesn't feel the need to compete with someone he hasn't even met, because deep down he understands something most men forget. If someone truly values you, competition isn't the threat. Your own insecurity is. When a man reacts calmly, maybe even smiles, maybe lightly jokes about it, maybe simply changes the topic without concern, he communicates something powerful without saying it directly. I'm not afraid of losing. And that energy changes everything. Because confidence is not about believing you're the only option. Confidence is knowing you are a strong option regardless of who else exists. Women sense this difference immediately. A jealous reaction feels heavy. It feels controlling. It feels insecure. But calm confidence feels safe. It feels mature. It feels rare. And rarity creates attraction. The irony is that many women don't bring up other men to make someone jealous. Sometimes it's subconscious, sometimes it's curiosity, sometimes it's simply observing how emotionally secure you are. But the reaction tells them everything. A man who stays relaxed shows emotional independence. A man who becomes anxious shows emotional dependence. And emotional independence is one of the strongest attraction triggers in human psychology, because people naturally value those who don't desperately need validation. They value those who choose connection, not cling to it. But the fourth sign she's testing you is even more subtle. It happens when she pulls away emotionally and watches whether you chase or remain centered. There's a moment in many connections where things suddenly feel different, not bad, just different. Her energy changes slightly. She texts less. She becomes busier. Plans slow down. Conversations shorten. And suddenly, the attention that once felt effortless becomes uncertain. This is where the fourth psychological test quietly appears. She pulls back just a little, not always intentionally. Sometimes it's life. Sometimes it's emotions. Sometimes it's simply curiosity about how you respond. But the reaction she sees from you in that moment reveals everything about your emotional maturity. Most men panic. They double their effort. More texts, more questions, more attempts to restart the spark. They try to pull her back closer. But ironically, the harder they chase, the more space appears. Because attraction needs breathing room, and desperation suffocates mystery. When attention disappears, many men believe they must work harder to earn it back. But confidence understands something deeper. Interest cannot be forced. It can only be invited. And invitations are powerful only when they come from someone who respects their own time and energy. When a man reacts to distance with calm patience instead of panic, something unexpected happens. He becomes more intriguing because he demonstrates emotional control. He shows that his life remains full and meaningful even when someone pulls away temporarily. He doesn't collapse into anxiety. He doesn't beg for reassurance. He simply continues forward with quiet strength. And this creates a powerful psychological shift. Instead of chasing attention, he becomes someone whose attention is valuable. People naturally gravitate toward those who appear complete on their own, not those who desperately seek completion from others. That's why calmness during emotional distance often restores attraction faster than constant pursuit ever could, because attraction grows in space, in curiosity, in the unknown. But when someone chases too aggressively, they remove all mystery. Everything becomes predictable, and predictability slowly dulls excitement. The truth most men never hear is that emotional patience is a form of power. It communicates confidence without a single word. It says, "I enjoy your presence, but I'm not dependent on it." And strangely enough, that mindset often pulls people closer rather than pushing them away. But the final psychological sign she's testing you might be the most revealing of all, because it exposes whether a man truly respects himself or whether he abandons his own standards just to keep someone around. The final test isn't about jealousy, it isn't about distance, and it isn't about arguments. It's about something far more important: respect. At some point, a small moment appears where your boundaries are quietly challenged. Maybe she cancels plans repeatedly. Maybe she makes a joke at your expense. Maybe she asks for something unreasonable. Maybe she expects you to drop your priorities instantly. It might seem small, even harmless, but psychologically, it reveals something powerful. She's observing whether you value your own time, standards, and self-respect. And this is where many men fail the final test. They tolerate everything. They laugh off disrespect. They accept behavior that quietly bothers them because they're afraid that standing up for themselves might push her away. So they stay silent. They stay agreeable. They stay easy. But what they don't realize is that attraction cannot survive without respect, and respect begins with self-respect. When a man calmly expresses a boundary, without anger, without drama, without hostility, he demonstrates something rare: integrity. He shows that he values connection, but not at the cost of his identity. This doesn't mean being harsh. It doesn't mean being controlling. It simply means being honest about what you accept and what you don't. Confidence speaks clearly, insecurity stays silent, and strangely enough, boundaries often increase attraction rather than destroy it because they reveal strength, they reveal standards, they reveal that you are not trying to earn someone's approval at any cost. You are choosing connection, not begging for it, and choice creates value. The truth most men never hear is that relationships thrive when two people respect each other's individuality, not when one person sacrifices their identity to keep peace. A man who stands calmly in his values becomes deeply attractive because he signals emotional leadership, not dominance. Leadership, the ability to guide his life with clarity and calmness. And that energy is magnetic because in a world filled with people seeking approval, the rarest man is the one who respects himself enough to walk away from what doesn't align with his standards. Those are the men who pass the tests most others never even notice. And now the real question becomes something deeper. Which of these tests have you experienced without realizing it was happening? Write your answer in the comments. If this message opened your eyes, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this truth.